Today's mission is to teach you why we use orange and teal, when do we use orange and teal, and how do we use orange and teal. So let's get started. If you don't know me, I'm Giuseppe. I started out as a broke videographer and then became a remote colorist, which is what I am today. You can trust me because what I do for a living is color grading. So you know that what I say is facts. The first thing that we need to talk about when we talk about orange and teal is why do people use it in the first place? Why did it get so popular? Because orange and teal is one of the most popular looks ever in color grading. Now this happens because orange and teal, I'll explain to you why, it's inherently pleasant to look at. This is the first reason. But also you've got a second reason. Orange and teal naturally occurs in reality. I'll give you an example. When you go out on a bright sunny day, what light sources are there? Well, there's the sun, but there's also the sky. Because the sky is refracting the light that's coming through with the sun, so it gets, all blue. And don't you think that blue light doesn't reach the ground? When you're out on a bright sunny day, look at the shadows. You'll notice that, on the sidewalk, when the sunlight is hitting the ground, it looks kind of warm, right? But as soon as there's shade, if the blue light can hit the shade and the sunlight can't, you'll notice that the shadows are going to be way colder. So they're not only darker because it's in the shade, literally, but they're also colder. So I would argue that one of the reasons that we like orange and teal is because we expect things to look this way. So if you watch some of my older videos, I used to shit on orange and teal so much, man. I actually like it, even though I used to shit about it, because I used to shit on it because I do not like the way it's being portrayed, because most people use that as a crutch. Listen, it's easy to make. I'm going to show you right now. It's easy to make. And it's a look that we always like. So most people associate orange and teal with color grading. Like, come on, let's be honest here. You watch color grading tutorials, right? You watch, how to frame your shots, how to be a better cinematographer, videographer, blah, blah, blah. You watch that shit, right? What do most people always show you on Resolve? When you look up for a color grading tutorials, do not people always do the same shit over and over again? Do they not do this? So they always have their color wheels open and they go gain in this direction, lift in this direction, and they call it a day. Is this not what you've been told to do? So I hate the usual advice, because the usual advice will lead you into a trap. And I do not want to go too deep into that because I want to show you what orange and teal is all about, and I want to show you how to create it. So I told you that it looks inherently pleasant to look at. I mean, it's good to look at by itself. Why is it the case? Why do we perceive it as such? Orange and teal is the easiest way you have of creating contrast in your image. We usually create orange and teal by making whatever is dark become blue and whatever is bright go towards orange. If I open one of my scopes, don't get scared if you don't know what I'm about to do. If I open my vector scope, even if you don't understand, pretend that you understand so that you can follow along. If I open this up, well, you'll see that all the colors, so if I disable everything, my image, do you see how this becomes like a circle right here? So we have a little bit of green, a little bit of orange, a little bit of different colors. When I enable my color path, you see that it extends, but it extends in just two directions. Because we are creating an image that has only two major tones. We have the warm tones right here. And we have, even when it's supposed to be neutral, it's still warm. And we have the cool tones. You can see it in the water. This looks so good. Why? Because we have the contrast between the warmth right here and the coolness of the water. You can see on the guy's body as well. This is good to look at. The eye likes contrast. Matter of fact, the eye likes contrast. This is a very powerful message. Remember this when you're doing color grading. The eye always likes contrast. That's why in most color grading tutorials, people are just going to teach you, hey, increase your contrast, and that's it. Nobody's ever going to come to you and say, decrease your contrast. Because it's a little counterintuitive, right? So people usually give you like the easiest route, not because it's the only one, but because they want to get the job done with, the least amount of effort that they can put in, basically. Orange and teal. It works because there's inherent contrast. Easiest way to get contrast in your image. Does it work on every image? No. For orange and teal to work on your image, you need to have elements that can be pushed towards the cool side and the warm side. So if you don't have that, if you have, an image that is too flat, that doesn't have this inherent contrast, that doesn't have, this color was already contrasting whatever was behind it, right? So if you don't have this, you risk orange and teal not working on your image. So that's something that you gotta evaluate for yourself. Now, I want to talk about the ways that we can implement orange and teal in our images. So this is a grade I did some time ago. And let me order my notary start. This is pretty old, by the way, but I'll just try to order things right here. Yeah, whatever. This is a grade that I did some time ago. And if I start to disable things, you'll see that this is what the image looked like, kind of looked like in reality. So if I keep disabling, yeah, this is the Rec 709 image. This is what it looks like unaltered. Now, to introduce that, you have a couple of ways. To introduce the orange and teal I'm talking about, you have a couple of ways. The first way is going to get you fucked. It's the way you've always seen on YouTube, and I want you to avoid it. What's that way? Most people this is where the video goes deep and you get the value that you don't get anywhere else. Most people, what do they teach you? So let's say that you've adjusted your contrast. You don't like this image like this. Okay, beautiful. Let's say that now you want to add some orange and teal. Most people teach you to do what I showed you before, right? So they go lift like this. And right now I'm just looking at the water. So I'm using my lift and I'm like, okay, I'll stop when the water looks nice. I don't care about anything else because then I'll counteract with my gain. And if you don't even know what these two knobs do, basically lift is, think of it like shadows, gain highlights. So we're pushing blue in the shadows and orange in the highlights. That's what we're doing. It's not complex at all. Now there's a problem with this. What's the problem? I'm going to show you. So look at what we're getting. Do you see how I'm kind of trying to do what I had before, but it doesn't work as nice? Do you see that? Let's look at the vector scope. So I have the top link in the description that takes you to my online Color Kings Academy, where I explain all this stuff. And I explain how to use the scopes because they tell a beautiful story. They allow us to understand what we're doing wrong. So if you want to really dive deep in color grading, go check out the top link in the description. It's my online school. It's where I teach my students how to do what I do in better details. And that's it. I literally review your grades. Anyway, so back to our vector scope. Do you see how this looks kind of weird? It's tending a little towards green. And you might be like, okay, what if we go a little towards magenta to subtract green? But now his skin looks weird. Why? Because this tool by itself is incomplete. Most people are going to show you this method of achieving orange and teal in your images, but it works nice in their little tutorial because they nitpick clips that work with this method, but when you go and try to apply it yourself, it looks trash. Like it is looking right now for me, and I'm a colorist, baby, so I know what I'm doing. What's the issue? Before applying this, before giving a global adjustment, do you agree that we are adjusting the whole image? Yeah. I'm not targeting just one specific area. As you can see, I can change whatever. Like I can change the whole image. So this is a global adjustment. Before this, you've got to realize, that we need to subtract before we add. Now, if you watch the videos on my channel, you remember that I made a video some time ago where I was like, hey, you know what helps me do color grading the most? Subtracting instead of adding. Listen. What do people on YouTube... I'll show you like in a few minutes how to get the exact same results that I got. I just want you to understand this because this is very powerful and I'm going to save you a lot of time. What do people on YouTube show you when you look up for color grading? What's the usual mindset? The usual mindset is that the image is missing something. So people always show you ways to add to the image. add this, add that. You know, because we view color grading as this crutch that we can use, you know, to save bad footage, to add what is not there. You know, the power of grading, all that bullshit. But the truth is that it doesn't work this way, right? So you ruin your images. In the very beginning, I didn't know this because I was just like you. I was a videographer trying to learn color grading, and I tried to learn color grading through YouTube tutorials. And this led me to, you know, one of the biggest downfalls in my career, which is when I wanted to be a colorist. I had around 1 year of experience in color grading. So I had some experience, and a production company reached out to me. And a production company is basically a group of people that make cool ass videos, right? That's it. That's what a production company is. They reached out to me and they asked me, hey, Giuseppe, we have a commercial and we see that you do color grading. Would you want to be the colorist for this commercial? And let me tell you, bro, it was a huge brand. Like, I'm talking Sony type of brand, like a very fucking huge brand. And I was like, holy shit, this is going to kickstart my color grading career for real. So I accepted that. And they wanted a neutral look with some orange and teal into it. Do you know what I did? Since I wanted it to be the best look of my life, I got to their footage and I started doing exactly this. So I had my exposure, contrast, whatever. And I was like, okay, man, maybe this can look even more epic. Yeah. Maybe some more orange and you do not realize that you're just ruined your footage. So the whole reason why I've taken these minutes, and thank you if you're still watching, but the sole reason why I did that is because I want to save you from this. This is the real danger, especially when we work with orange and teal, because this is the technique that gets associated with orange and teal all the time. So what's the trick? You need to subtract what does not go towards orange or teal. Or if you do not want to subtract that, you need to force the elements into your image, in your image, to go towards one or the other. I'll show you exactly what I mean so that you can replicate the result that I had for yourself. So before we touch a knob or a dial or anything, look at the image and look at your vector scope. So we look at the image and we see, okay, we have some water and the water looks kind of cool. Okay, it looks kind of cold. Okay. So we can definitely work with that. I can imagine that if we push some cold tones in my image, this is going to start to look blue. He's going to always look orange. This is beautiful. But we have a problem. We have a problem because we have the green in these plants. His hand is going a little towards magenta, a little too much. And we need to fix these things. So it's basically these two things that don't work in our favor. Why is that important? Because when we do our orange and teal, let me enable this. Okay, do you see how different the scope looks? By the way, if you don't know what the vector scope does, it's very fucking simple, and I talk about this in the Color Kings Academy. The vector scope just tells us what colors we have in the image. And the colors we have in the image are either warm towards orange or cold towards, halfway cyan, halfway blue. Basically, that's what we have in the image right now. What I had in the image before with my half-assed attempt was a little bit of the warm tones, a little bit of the cool ones, and then a lot of bullshit elsewhere. That's not what you want. So you want your image to have this, it needs to be split in two, right? This is why we also call these techniques, split toning techniques and all that, because we're basically forcing everything in the image to go either in one direction or the other direction. You do that by using a selective tool. So this is the meat of the video. This is what you're watching for. So I'm going to disable this. I'm going to come back here. Let's say this is your image. You create a new node. If you're in DaVinci, you can do this on Photoshop as well. If you're in Premiere, on Photoshop, I recommend DaVinci because DaVinci is the best, no questions asked. But if you're watching from Premiere, you can follow along. Just do the same things. I'm going to use a few tools, but you find these tools in Photoshop, Premiere, you find them everywhere. What you don't find is the node-based interface, which is better. Okay, if you're in Premiere, switch to DaVinci, bro. Don't let me say it twice. But you can still find the tools that I'm going to use, right? The concepts still apply. What you want to do is this. You go to your curves, your So in DaVinci, we have basically the curves. This is what everybody knows. So you adjust contrast, your bullshit S-curve, right? To get the image more contrast. You do not want to stay here. You click this button, curves, custom, whatever. Then you watch these small buttons right here and you click on the first, second, and third, right? So you can switch between 3 different but very similar instruments. The first instrument basically allows you to select a color and change the way it looks. Ooh, magic. Do you see that? The second one, like the one after this, it basically allows you to change its saturation. So if you see how we're able to play with individual colors. And the third one, this is the one I use the least, it allows you to make the color brighter or darker. Now, what are we going to do? If you remember, we have the problem, like our basic primary problem is that too much green, and it doesn't work when we give the image the blue tint that we want to have, that we want to have in the image. So we can either subtract green. So I'm going to go on my my third button right here, which is hue versus sat, where we select a color and we subtract it. In this case, green is not really handling this. I need to go more towards yellow. DaVinci sees this more as yellow. So I need to go like this. And as you can see, we are left with way less than we had before. Or you can also grab the same color with the other instrument and push it towards orange so that it goes towards, this color right here. Right now, I'm going to slow down a little and explain better why I did what I just did and the philosophy behind it. I just want it right now to show you fast that this works. And I'll go over it again and how I made the decisions that I made. So as I told you, we have a problem with the green behind our subject because it's distracting. You see that this is looking like a blob, not like a blade, right? That needs to split the image in half, the vector scope in half, sorry. So we can either subtract, like you see like the vector scope right here. If you're very unfamiliar with what this does, we have red, magenta, blue. Like if I push my image towards blue, it goes towards this thing right here. Hold on. It goes towards the blue square right here. So this is indicating what color we have. So if everything tends to go towards green, you'll see that the image, starts the data that we have in the scope is going to go towards this place, right? Why I say that is because you see that we have a blob right here and some parts of it go towards green, right? But we don't want them to go towards green. We want it to be bladed in this sense. So we try to handle that with our tool, with our hue versus sat tool. And when we do that, you see that we start to subtract what we have in the yellows. Now, in my case, I want to subtract what we also have going for green. So I'm going to be adjusting this graph right here, this instrument. You can do the same for yourself. And I'm just looking at the scope, by the way. I'm not even looking at my image. I'm just looking at the scope. And I know I'll be happy with the way this looks when there's no more data here towards green. Do you see how we are kind of already getting that, that bladed picture in our vector scope? Because this is what's going to give us orange and teal. So instead of removing it all, I can subtract some of it. And what's left behind, I can instead decide to move it towards orange so that we still have something to play with right here, but it's looking a little closer to what we need for orange and teal. So I'm going to increase this. As you can see, like this starts to change. Now I'm going to look at my image. I'm going to increase that, and I think I'm happy with it. I think I'm happy. All right. Now I'm curious. I see some blue in here. What does the blue give us? Okay, so the water is already blue. Yeah, I'll try to increase some of it. I'm just curious. Yeah, I can increase some of it. Okay. And now I'll create a new node. Now that we have handled the problems in our image, I can create a new node and I can start giving the image some teal. Now, look at this. If I proceed this way, with the way people have shown you, I can get a pretty good result actually. I'll show you something really, really useful in a moment. So I'm proceeding with what you've seen. This is very similar to what I had. a little less polished, because you can see that I'm doing everything faster with less nodes, but you already see that this works like it's intended to work, right? I'm gonna show you another beautiful way. This is a secret trick that I use myself. Nobody actually uses this. I have yet to see this in a tutorial or guide. So this is my bonus tip for you if you're still watching the video. Basically, what you can do, you know, like how a lot of people tell you, hey, just go back on your shadows, then come up on your highlights, kind of like this. This can work. I just showed you that it can work. But what you can also do is actually go back on the shadows, and instead of reintroducing orange with your highlights, just go back to your node and add it with the hue versus sat. This way you get, you know, the effect that I had in the beginning. Like, this is what I had in the very beginning. You get basically the blue added to your footage, and then you're not introducing globally warmth that subtracts the blue. No, you are reintroducing warmth to the already orange parts of your image. And this is beautiful. All right. I feel like this is it, man. I don't want to make this guide too long. If you appreciated it, go check out the top link in the description. I've got some fucking great guides right there. And I literally coach you if you join the academy. So if you want to dive deep into color grading, if you want to watch some real color grading, I suggest you go do that. All right. Let me know if you like this guide. God bless you.